it's time to really start thinking about overwintering properly. So the weather is turning. We've had very, very mild weather recently, but now over the next few days the temperatures are really going to drop, and it's time to really overwinter plants that are half hardy, because we might see, well, we will see frost this week. We could even see snow in higher ground as well, and possibly at lower ground. So we're going to see the winter arrive that we should have had a few weeks ago in terms of frost start to arrive now late in November. Like I said, it's been very, very mild, and lots of plants have been slowing down, but they've still been slowly growing because it's been so mild. And we've had lots of rain the last few days, and it's meant the ground is getting that moisture in that it's been missing all spring and summer, and the plants are getting a bit soggy in places. It's really time to think about protecting those that need that dry covering over winter. Now we've still got colour in the garden. We've got salvias all around me looking beautiful, but it won't be long, like I said, over the next few days when the frosts come, that these will quickly blacken and the foliage and the flowers will be no more until next year. In the arid part of the garden where I am now, if we just have a look, we've got the beautiful palm trees like the Briar Armata behind me. We've got cacti, we've got Cerifera palm here, we've got the yuccas, and these will do fine in these conditions. They're not temperamentally tender, they are on the half hardy to the hardy spectrum, especially the yuccas more hardy than some of the cacti and all the succulents, but overall these plants will be fine. Here, if I look down, we've got the agaves. I should have covered these a month or two ago. They've still been out in all this wet weather. We've got the Americana, and we've also got the Montanas here as well. And you probably notice from the quality of the footage, it's getting dark as well into the afternoon, and because it's winter, the days are a lot shorter, and it means we've got less time in the garden to do things. And this weekend you might be one of those people that have been out in the dark, soggy garden, lifting up the onset bananas, dragging them somewhere dry, trying to tip them out and get all that water out. And really this is the last chance to do that successfully now, because you need to get them in and dry off. Even if you're putting them up somewhere warmish over winter, you want to dry them out a little bit, because they'll be full of cold water in all the leaf bases. And if you're dry storing them, then you definitely need to get them out. Now, which way should we go? Let's go over here. We've still got some colour down here from the amaranthus and the colocasia pink chinas. Doing a very rough and ready video today as we walk around. I just thought I'd hold the tripod and we'll do a bit of a walk around like this. Things like the jabea we've talked about are totally fine. So we've got that up there, that's totally fine. And like I said, we've got the yuccas down there, which I won't protect. The agaves I will protect. And if we just go down here, if you look down, that's where I am building my path. And you can see I'm just building it up here. But we're not going to carry on with that today because we haven't got the time. That's not the focus of this video. We're really thinking about the weather change. It's all about the weather. We've had a really mild autumn. You know, we've had double figures at night time, never mind the daytime in November, early November, now into mid-November. And like I said, this weekend, this is when we're going to see the last of the mild winter weather, should I say, and we're going to get proper winter weather coming this coming week. So this video is just about, you know, making sure that you really need to start protecting some of your plants. If you've got any tender houseplants outside, definitely get those in. If you've got anything on the edge that's, you know, like a potted plant that you think you should be bringing in, bring it in now. There's lots of plants though that you can not do anything to yet. You know, you've got the Dixonia antarctica tree ferns. They're totally fine yet. We're not going to see any really cold weather that's going to affect those. And, you know, to get the blackening of the leaves of tree ferns, it needs to be -3 to -5. So even frost on them doesn't blacken the leaves. It's only when it gets colder, sub-zero for any length of time will it do that. Bamboos obviously are totally fine. What should I show you? My gunnera. So my gunnera, which is just over there, that's still green, that's still looking good, but I think after this week that'll be blackened off. We can push those leaves down and protect the crown for next year's growth. But that's a pretty hardy plant, the Gunnera cryptica. Spin round, got the Schefflera behind us there, that's totally fine, and all the other palm trees, Trachycarpus palm trees, all along the fence line, they're totally hardy and totally fine. So it's a short video. Basically, it's all about wake-up call of, yes, winter has arrived or will be arriving this week, so make sure you go out if you can over the next few days and bring in your tender plants and get all your materials ready for protection. If you've got some fleece and straw, get all those materials ready, so if it does turn proper cold, because the weather forecast, you know, it's only good for 2 or 3 days. We know in 4 or 5 days we might get sleet and snow on higher ground. Scotland will get snow. But it could change. We could, you know, those temperatures are looking at 0 at night time. For a lot of the country next week, could easily drop down to -2, -3, -4. It could really change very, very quickly. So you've got to be ready to go out. And if you're of working age, you're still working, and you don't have much time at home in daylight hours, then you might have to be going out with a torch at night or evenings to actually protect plants midweek. And ideally you want to prevent that. You want to plan ahead, have everything ready, so you can just go out and protect plants in situ if they're needed. But like I said, I don't want to worry people too much. It's just the start of winter, it's totally normal, and it's not going to be, looking at the forecast, be proper cold this week. It's just going to be the start of some normal cold autumn stroke winter weather. I've got all my tender plants in the greenhouse, so we'll have a look at those in a second so you can see what I've actually dug up and put in the greenhouse. Like I said, I've still got my agaves to protect outside, and it's not cold enough at all for the Dixonias yet, so I won't worry about those. So let's have a look in the greenhouse. So what have we got in the greenhouse? Well, we have got my potted sort of tenderish gingers, or ones that I want to keep in the green rather than dying back. So we've got the greeny eye, the verity there, the variegated one. We've also got some other ones I'm not sure of the names of. We've got my begonias as well, and we've got some aeoniums down there, some palm seedlings, so really small palm seedlings that I just want to keep frost-free over winter. And then I've got my onset Ventacrosum heniva, which has been potted, and that's still in the green, so I've not had to dry this one out. It's not been in the cold lashing rain that we've had over the last few days. It's been nicely tucked away in the greenhouse, keeping it on the dry side, and that'll say potted in here. And at the moment the temperature, as you can see, hasn't dropped below 10 degrees because it's been so mild outside, and I've set the thermostat to come on at 8 degrees. I'm keeping it warmish at the moment, and we'll see how that goes over winter. Because it's been so mild so far, I thought, well, I can keep it a bit warmer, the temperature, because I'm not had to pay too much for the electricity to go on. Anyway, over here we have got mainly aeoniums. Got colocasia there, but mainly aeoniums. As I just kick a bucket over. So got lots of little seedlings and cuttings that were planted out in the ground or in pots. I've also got some Petranthus down here, or now Coleus, Evergold there. Got some Irricine. Now these do need warmer temperatures, ideally 12-15 degrees, but they can go down lower, down to 5 degrees or so, but they can start suffering if they're kept at those sort of temperatures for too long. So I might need to move these into the house, onto the windowsill. And I've actually dug up the full plants this year. Normally I take cuttings and they'll go into the hydropod here, but I've not actually turned that on and heated that tank of water because I've just dug up the main plants. So we've got a couple here, and then we have got my main sort of heated box here. So this is a big box of sand with a heating element in it, and this keeps the roots at about 12 degrees. It's not as expensive as heating all the air in the greenhouse. It's just heating that element to 12 degrees. So it should be warm enough, definitely for these aeoniums. These will be totally fine. So loads of aeoniums and other succulents. Got a light up there as well, which comes on a timer for a few hours a day, just to illuminate this area, give it a bit of light. So got some beautiful agaves there, look at those. They're appreciating being under the light, keeping them going. And over here, we've got my most tender plants in the greenhouse. Like I said, I've dug up all the Iricene, Plectranthus coleus, and they're all in this area. And as you can see, some look a bit wilted, so they do need a good water. I still need it onto the dry side over winter, but because it's been so mild, they have dried out pretty quickly. So I'll be watering these carefully and giving them a decent watering. And the nice, well-drained media, perlite and compost, it will drain quickly. But it does dry out quickly because it is, like I said, it's been warm. So in here it's been 20 degrees or so when the sun's been shining on it the last few days. And obviously this sand, it drains away as well. And it's got that heating element underneath if it does get too low at the night. Panning around, I've dug up all the Transcantia here, which was in the main part of the garden. It is hardy outside, especially if you've got a mulch on it. But I am, as I keep saying in many videos recently, I am changing the first half of the garden to put a lawn back in. So I've had to dig up a lot of plants, and I've started to do so. So this Transcantia has been dug up and literally just plonked in little pots down there. It's a succulent and it's great ground cover. In the shady areas and sunny areas, it's totally fine. It just comes back every year and spreads about quite well as well. I've dug up a few cannas already. I could have waited for the frost to stop the growth, but I've got a few cannas, and these are musifolia. These are just in pots of dry compost. I'm not doing anything with them other than storing them in darker places on the shelf down there. And we've got a nice parlour palm, which have just brought in now because this is the time when it's going to get frosty that you don't want anything tender outside. So this is why that palm tree's come in now. In the heated propagator, I've got my Heneba little plants here that I need to split. And I've got my Brassiopsis just because it was rooting properly. And some other little plants of Plectranthus and coleus in there as well. So hopefully they'll be fine and I'll keep an eye on them. And it's surprising, like I said, how much they need watering when it's on the warmer days and you've got the heat coming from the base. They do dry out. So one of my jobs, at least 3 times a week, is coming out to the greenhouse after work and checking on watering. That's the main job I've got to do because some plants dry out really quickly. Others don't, and they, can be sat in water, especially if they're in too big a pot, so they don't need watering all winter. These aeoniums won't be watered, I can't imagine, probably till March next year. What else have we got? Down here, we've got some more colourful, I think these are Mardi Gras aeoniums, and these really need to be inside because more variegated, colourful types like this really don't want to be 5-8 degrees. These want to be 10, 15, 20 degrees, so they want to be kept inside over winter. So I lost a few last year, or they looked really bad at the end of winter. So these will be coming in as house plants very soon. And you can drop down to 0, but they really want to avoid that if at all possible. I've still got my palm tree that I'm trying to give away. Hopefully it'll go to Cornwall. Thought it was going to London, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen. This is my Paragibea sunca. So that's in the greenhouse for winter, and hopefully it'll go down to Cornwall next year. And that's everything in the greenhouse. It's hard to tell on this camera now because of it's really good at low light, but out there, look, it's getting dark already. I only started filming, 10, 15 minutes ago? Just show it this time of day, this time of year, how dark it gets so early in the afternoon. Now, I did say that I've got all my Iricene in the greenhouse. Well, that's pretty much true, apart from this one last pot by the back of the house, which is in pretty much shade at this time of year, 24/7. And we'll see how the cold affects these plants this week. I'm sure these will be pretty much dead by next week if we look at this pot. But we'll keep them out, a bit like a canary down the mine, seeing the true temperatures, see how the cold and the frost affects these plants that are definitely tender. So we'll leave these in a pot. I've got enough backups as you've seen in the greenhouse, so I don't need to worry about these dying off, and we'll see if they survive the week. And Buzz is still chilling out in a pot by the front door. My Canary Island date palm in the front garden is still looking green and good. It's grown well this year, and I won't be protecting that unless I know we're going to get proper cold temperatures, so low as -4 to -5 forecast. I'll probably tie this up, and if it gets snow in the forecast, then I'll probably definitely tie it up. Just put some cable ties around it, or bungee cords should I say, just to keep those leaves close together, and that's all the protection it will get, because I don't want it to be wrapped up with fleece in my front garden. And I know one day this plant will succumb to the British Yorkshire winter, and to replace it we've got a real Trachycarpus ulcrahensis. It's been slowly growing underneath it, so that will take its place when eventually this succumbs to the weather. And we've got the hardy Jabea feather palm to the side of it, which is sizing up really well in the front garden from a very small plant. It's taken 15 years to get to a decent size, but that will take over, and it's probably going to outcompete this huge Yucca rostrata that we have growing by the side of it. It's nice evergreen plants in the front garden. Only Canary Island date palm has a bit of tenderness to it. The rest of the plants are very, very hardy indeed. Just holding on to a bit of colour in the front garden is this Canna Cleopatra. Unfortunately, these flower buds have been very, very slowly developing over the last few days and couple of weeks. We'll not see them bloom because I'm sure they'll get frosted later in the week. Thank you for watching this edition of Exotic Gardening with Yorkshire Kris. Join me next week, we'll be doing more in the garden.